Om Shri Sai Ram. Welcome to the next episode of Ram Gita. And today we are jumping into another beautiful episode. And I'm looking forward to sharing this beautiful journey. So let us start with our prayer and we'll continue our discussions henceforth. So I request all of you to please join me in this prayer session. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Om Shri Sai Ram. Ram Gita, as we have been discussing always, has really opened so many new dimensions for each one of us. And I feel it's my duty to humbly accept that this topic is certainly a lifetime achievement. If we can even scratch the surface, that would be great. So today we are sharing with you next chapter, which is the Varat-Swarop, the cosmic form of the Lord, a form which only an avatar is capable of bestowing, sharing, and giving to his most deserved student, candidate, or a devotee. And we have heard it most popularly in Krishna avatar in the middle of battlefield when Krishna is giving the discourses of Gita or the dialogue between Arjun and Krishna, where he shows him the cosmic form. And that is the spot where we have learned about how the cosmic form is described by Rishi Vedavyas. Today we are going to see how Bhagwan Sri Ram has gone into this narration. Let me invite my brother Jagdish for the discussion. So, Sai Ram, brother Jagdish.
Om Shri Sai Ram, offering
Welcome.
ourselves at Bhagwan's divine lotus feet. Very blessed to be
Yeah,
part of this discussion, brother, and very excited to be here and to be speaking about Swami here. Please let's dive right in.
sure, sure. I think you're doing some vratam. Your
I
face.
am I am in
Wait,
some vratam, so please excuse my look
no
right now.
problem. So it's very important because this vratam is important even for Hanuman to get this vision. So let me start the discussion by sharing with you the flow of the story. And as we have seen, Ram Gita is basically an genuine questions by Lord Hanuman, who as a student sits at the feet of the Lord and questions him. And he has actually taken a journey of all the aspirant. He's representing all the spiritual aspirants who are looking for that higher evolution in their spiritual journey. So Bhagwan Hanuman has literally played that role to the perfection. And now he has come to a stage where most of his such questions and doubts are disappearing. And now he is inquisitive to know about the cosmic form of Lord Ram. He has seen Lord Ram as his beloved teacher, as his beloved master, as his beloved master, as a king married to Mother Sita. He has seen them play pranks. So he has that approach. But now, when he hears about this secret knowledge, he questions Ram and he prays that Bhagwan, please show me your cosmic form. Very interestingly, Ram responds. He says, Hanuman, that form is not easy. You have demanded for something much auspicious and beautiful, but it is very sacred. But it is at the same time is very ferocious. So people have got scared. And let me show you the answer which Prabhu Ram has given. I think that would really set the stage. To the answer of Hanuman, Ram says, "Oh Hanuman, do not say so." Why it does not say? He says, because here Hanuman is telling Ram that Ram, why would I be afraid to see you form? Because he has an impression about Lord as a good, soft, loving God. He says, how can I be afraid? Why would I be? Then he says, oh Hanuman, do not say so. By merely hearing of it, alas, even Brahma, the word used there is the four-headed one, the Indra, and other gods are terrified. And he makes a very, this is the next line is very interesting. He says, even my hair, even the hairs of my body stand erect when I think of it. By that, thou shalt faint away in no time. I find it very interesting that, he is preparing Hanuman of what is going to come. So, Jagdish, what I will suggest that, as we are discussing this, let's keep the other manifestations which Lord has done, especially with Arjun, because that is the
Mm.
most popular one we know. So it will be
Yes,
lovely to have some kind of a comparative understanding of
totally.
how the things have happened, right, in different yugas. And obviously, there's a difference between a student like Hanumanji and Arjun. And
Yes.
then we look at how we are, in that category of comparison. So
Yeah.
here we look at it that, in Arjun's case, he Sri Krishna had to literally pull him up to this level, and then he says, okay Arjun, let me show you that you're not ready to fight still, you're not ready to do your duty, let me show you who I am. And that is how he grows into this form, and it scares him. Arjun
Yes.
is scared very instantly actually. He sees that and he's literally scared and he prays that, okay, come back to my form, I can't handle it. But here, Hanuman, when you look at Hanumanji's approach, it is an inquirer, what I feel. He is literally the Jigyasu.
Totally.
He's a Jigyasu who wants to know the form, but he's a devotee who is not sure that why would I be scared of my Lord? So there's an element of devotion there. And then there is a slight element of, I would say, I wouldn't want to call it arrogance because that sounds very dirty. It is like a little bit of that pride is there that, hey, I won't get terrified. I will handle it. You show me, I'll handle you. And then comes the thing that when Ram puts him as a warning that, okay, Hanuman, I'm giving you a forewarning that this is not going to be easy for you.
Yes.
How do you look at the whole thing, Jagdish, and share your thoughts on that?
Yes, brother. So, in fact, even before we go into differences between Hanuman and Arjuna, it is still a comparison, nevertheless. But I would like to say here that both of them, they go through this journey of the total realization of Kaivalyam, which is the Gita. So, in this case, Rama giving it to his beloved devotee Hanuman, and in the other case, Krishna giving to his beloved devotee, that is Arjuna. But both of them, they have again tailored this whole course so beautifully to the bhakta that it basically stumps all of us, as to it also acts as a markdand. It's a scale where we can measure ourselves and say, oh, so these are the experiences that a devotee goes through in his total realization of kaivalyam. So that is basically a similarity between both the Rama Gita and what Krishna gives to Arjuna, both the Bhagavad Gita and the Rama Gita, right? So and in this journey, the Vishwarupa Darshanam is basically occurring in both places and very similar. Even in our case, mostly Rama has taken Hanuman through the Sankhya Yoga, through a lot of other aspects of a spiritual journey of a soul, and then he finally also gives the Vishwarupa. And in the case of Krishna also, he takes Arjuna through a particular journey, and in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he gives him the Vishwarupa Sandarshanam. And basically this is so just like in the Veda, that it is said that without realizing Bhagavan's presence in everything, in everywhere, in all aspects, whether it be aspects that affect me or they don't affect me, they are all pervaded by Swami. That is the realization that both bhaktas arrive at before going further in their journey of realizing oneness with Bhagavan. So that is one similarity that I would like to see between the two, although comparative, but it's a similarity. Okay, the otherwise the differences that you can see from both the texts is that here in Rama Gita, so it's mostly Sankhya Yoga that Swami speaks about in the beginning part. So till 8th chapter, 9th chapter, we see Sankhya Yoga in great expansion, and Sankhya Yoga filled with the Nyaya and Vaisheshika, those darshanas also Swami has filled in the first 8 to 9 chapters, and then directly it comes to the Vishwarupa. But if you see in the Bhagavad Gita, it is a slow build up of various yogas. Sankhya Yoga is just the second yoga in the Bhagavad Gita, and the third, fourth, fifth, up to 11, they talk about different aspects of the soul's journey, right? So those are some kind of differences. So that way, the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna has given, it actually caters to a number of different types of bhaktas, I would say, who or even the jnanis and so on, because it talks about different aspects of the growth. But here again, it is Hanuman that is learning. He's highly, he's much more evolved, firstly, than Arjuna, and therefore the jigyasu part comes first, which means that without he falling prey to, let's say, despair or something, Swami, he directly goes and asks Swami that please give me this Upadesh, and then the Upadesh begins. And during that journey also.
But don't you think that, it is Ram has also touched upon bhakti, karma, gyan,
Certainly,
and then comes there.
certainly.
Yes, the only point I would say, if you find a difference, is the stress point of view.
Hmm.
Which to give more thrust, more impetus.
Correct. Correct.
In Rama's time, the need for action was there, but it was only from a clarity point of view, that what
Hmm.
we are doing, how much we are doing, but it was not to inspire people to work. They were already inspired to work. They just needed a little clarity of the
Hmm.
concept.
Right.
In Arjuna's time, I feel there was a hindrance even to work properly. Arjuna even was willing to give up his dharma itself,
Right.
and most of them were going against the dharma. So there was the big question was like to stress more on the karma point of view,
Totally.
and then redefine the concepts of gyan so
Yes.
that karma can be executed. So I would say there's a shift, but the sequence of event of teaching has remained the same. It
Hmm.
is Sankhya leading into that bhakti and karma and jnana, and now Virat Roop Sarupa. So
Virat
if
Swarop.
you look at the flow, I think they are all in that's the beauty of it, is that somewhere something is clarified here more, and in some part you find in Krishna's time it is explained more. And
Totally.
now when I read Baba's Gita, I find Bhagwan Baba has described other things in more detail than them.
Hmm. Yes.
Probably it is because of the need of the hour.
Need of the hour. Totally.
Need of the hour. So here he's talking about karma from a different perspective if you look at Bhagwan Baba's Gita. And
Yes.
he makes it like, as we were discussing before, about the mala. He has added another flavor to it, but that
Mm.
flavor is not new, but it is that the way he has explained and the much importance he has given, it
Correct.
is not given in the previous time. Like
Yes.
seva, aspect of
Mm.
service, namasmarana, that aspect is only mentioned by Ram and Krishna,
Yes.
whereas Bhagwan Baba has really taken it into a different league. So that only shows that the messaging is same.
Correct.
I think the relevance has to be tweaked. That is
Exactly. They
what
are tailoring it to the need of the hour. That's the message.
Yeah,
Totally.
that's why I was enjoying myself that but the effect of this fear, the discussion on fear can be there. I'm sure the viewers can also jump in. Uh,
Yeah.
See, when we look at story of Prahlad, or when you look at that he had a vision, and that too Narsimha. So
Mm.
imagine that ferocious avatar. And we have seen that there was no fear in Prahlad. Obviously, the connotation is very different. I'm not comparing those two there. But the element of fear seems to be a kind of non accepted in the mindset. If you are with the Lord, why would there be an element of fear? And when
Right.
we have that, when we are reading this Ramagita, we saw that the word is never fear that is used by Ram in Ramagita.
Yeah.
But English translation, it becomes fear. So it is like Rudra and Krodha, that
Hmm.
kind of a. So he says it's a terrific form. It is like a prachanda. So the beauty is that I would like you to share your thoughts on the that feeling of why does it appear to be a fearsome and magnanimous and ferocious form.
Right.
What is your
Right.
take on that?
Yeah. So I would actually like to start with, maybe our users, our listeners should basically get a feel of of what this fear exactly that is being talked about, right? So imagine that, you are in front of, in the ocean, let's say you are going in a ship, and then you see ocean and ocean and ocean, which is, at some point it just scares you at the enormity of the thing, right? The ocean, or maybe like you were saying the other day, if you're standing, let's say, in front of a mountain which is so huge, just the enormity of it scares you. That is at at a level that we can probably relate to, which is why I have taken that. But however, there are other aspects to it, if you look at it that way. And if you look at it closely, right, if you compare different people that got this anubhava of Virat-Swarupa, and their reactions to this Virat-Swarupa are slightly different. So in the Shanti Parva of the Mahabharata, Narada is also given this opportunity of, having the Vishwarupa. Okay, and there are others. So Dhritarashtra gets it, then Arjuna gets it, and in our case, we are speaking about Hanuman. We will come to them. But Narada's reaction is slightly different from the others. In Dhritarashtra's case, he's deep into tamas, so it is fear. Okay, and in case of Arjuna, again, it's he's just overwhelmed. It's afraid. And even in case of Hanuman, he says, again, it's very subtly different between how Hanuman experienced it and how Arjuna experienced it. But it's fear nevertheless. The word that is used is bhayam. Okay, what is the cause of this fear is again a debatable thing. And to me, I think it is the enormity. The second aspect of also looking at this fear is, if we go through this shloka from Viveka Chudamani, right? Let me just have a look at this shloka. I just found a shloka from the Viveka Chudamani, which talks exactly about this aspect of fear. Okay, what it says is that, fear is basically caused by duality. That's what Shankaracharya is saying. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, fear
Okay.
is the source of the fear is duality.
There is duality. So, which means
Hmm.
basically, I lost that shloka somewhere, but I'll again find it for you. But basically, the point here being, the seekers, the people who got this anubhava of the Vishwarupa, they still have some kind of, I mean, they don't still feel that, you're one with the Lord. So if the Lord has taken these thousands of forms with thousands of heads, sahasra sirsha purusha, sahasrakshas sahasrapat, and so on, there is still this, how do you call it, the padav, or the level that needs to be crossed, where the where the seeker, where the seer of this Vishwarupa also has to realize that if he is the thousand faces, my face is also his. So the moment that realization comes that, this is also him, they are all him, and this is also him, and then it is then the same feeling that Narada expresses. Basically, Narada says, he in fact praises the beauty of the Lord in stark comparison with Arjuna, or Hanuman, or with Dhritarashtra, and so on. He praises him. He says, he says, Sahasranayana Shriman is one of the words that he uses in the Shanti Parva of the Mahabharata. And, he's elated by this form. There is not an iota of fear there. Okay. And therefore, I
Is it
think,
because of the physicality? Is it because of the physicality? Because
uh,
Narada, when we're looking at Narada Sutras, Narada
mhm,
was not in the human boundages.
totally.
So probably because of his affiliation to the Narayan in such a beautiful proximity,
Mm.
that even in Sahasra Shirsha he was looking at as the beautiful eyed ones. Huh?
It's beauty,
That's
and
just repeat that line again. It's a very beautiful phrase you used.
he says Sahasranayana Shriman. That's the description he uses. Okay,
Beautiful.
Sahasranayana is with thousands of eyes, and he calls him Shriman. Shri is basically Lakshmi. He's the
Nainam Shriman. Wow.
uh,
Beautiful word.
so this happens in the Shanti Parva of the Mahabharata, and then he just doesn't stop there. He then goes on to recite a stuti of Narayana, which consists of 200 names. Interested viewers could please, try to find this 200 Dvishati. It's called Shri Vishnu Dvishati, done by Narada. It's part of the Shanti Parva in the Mahabharata.
Beautiful. Beautiful. See, I think it's a very beautiful analogy you have brought it up because when you let me tell you the story of how it is written in Ram Gita, how Bhagwan Ram is sharing. See, for Arjuna, it was a vision granted by Krishna, who blesses him with the divine eyes, they say, Divya Chakshu. So, divine vision was bestowed on Arjun so he could see the effulgent form. Here,
Yes.
in this case of Lord Hanuman, that was not the case. With on the request of Hanuman, Sri Ram starts to describe that cosmic form, and he talks about him in an undivided form, which has on all sides numerous hands and feet that are beyond grasp, has eyes, mouths, nose, and heads all on all sides. So now he's describing the form in a very poetic manner, and he's telling him how the form is growing is such a big huge one. It has all the shapes of mountains, even universes are coming in and out of that form. So he's describing, and in that ecstasy of listening, Hanuman closes his eyes and starts to visualize as Bhagwan Ram is describing the form.
Yeah.
So this is the beauty I find here, the caliber of Hanuman, that as the description of Virat Rupa is happening, Hanuman is building that Virat Sarupa in
Totally.
his cosmic mind.
Yes.
So when he says, there is a very beautiful description, I'm sure if you can read the Sanskrit one, but it will be tough to read. It is on the verse 8. And he says, the crores and crores of Brahmic eggs spreading over the hairs
Correct.
of his head here and there give occasion for certain doubts. They appear in their shape as if they were so many atoms clinging together. So
Yes.
he's talking that many Brahmas and the universes are like, as I can't help
Renu.
but
He says
remember
Renu
one,
is dust
Anu,
particles. Yes.
dust particle like. So I'm just thinking like, when Bhagwan used to stand in front of us during the rainy season, and you will see that he would take a walk and come back. So the hair drops, the water drops will be on his hair tips, you know.
Wow.
So in the crown of hair, with a backdrop of sun shining there, you could see the water drops shining like
Beautiful.
droplets. Like it was a very beautiful crowning glory standing in front of you. So when I read this verse, I'm just visualizing that each droplet, he's calling it as a Brahmansa. So a
Brahman.
Brahma is sitting there. So imagine on a droplet of hair, each Brahma is there.
Yes.
And within the Brahma, there is universe.
Right.
So that is a description of this Virat-Swarop, who has got thousands of heads. On each head, he has got halo of hair. And on each hair, Brahmas are scattered like a dust particles.
Yes.
Wow, just close your eyes and imagine this magnanimity, the magnanimous form, what it could mean.
Yes.
And then he says that as Lord is describing, and we can go through that, but let me just finish the story. When he's describing it like that, Hanuman is totally awestruck. And in that awe, Hanuman faints. So that is the way. It is not, I don't know, the fear element has gone into Hanuman, or the infiniteness of the form is so much that it became impossible to hold, neither with your form eyes nor with your imagination. It went beyond. So that overwhelmingness made Hanuman faint. And that is where Ram comes down and holds him and slowly lifts him up. So look at and let us you can share more about the description part of it, because I find the description is like wow.
Totally.
And he
Totally.
even he says, imagine when he's describing Brahma as dust particles.
Exactly.
I don't know who else can be mentioned, you know. And he says, in my universal form, before which numberless midday suns,
Right.
very difficult even to be imagined, are like so many fireflies. So, which
Right.
means the, the solar systems are like fireflies.
Right.
Brahmas are like dust particles. So your Milky Ways are just like, a swift of breath. Wow. And then he's describing that even the god of death, Dharmaraj they call him, he ran away. He could not hold the vision of Lord and he disappears. Indra faint. It is wow.
Totally.
So the overwhelming feeling. So just to share that part with you, that Hanuman, I feel for reading this, I feel Hanuman was not. It was not that ordinary fear that we talk about in a human sense.
Yes.
Hanuman was overwhelmed with that feeling because he also could never comprehend
Correct.
the
Correct.
vastness of this Sagun Sarup Brahman.
Right. Right.
So can you share some more thing from Narad Sutra, or from here, how he has described it? Because you can read it very well.
Oh yes, I will need to open it. It's not right in front of me. But I was also looking at the Bhagavad Gita and the description from there. Okay,
Yes, please.
he also, even there he says Aneka Bahudara Vaktra Netram Pashyami Tvam Sarvato Anantarupam. Nantanna Madhyanna Punastavadim Pashyami Vishveshwara Vishwarupa. He says, so in fact, these are Arjuna's words. He says, you are, after he gets the darshan, he says, Aneka Bahu Daravaktra Netram. So it seems he has Aneka Bahu, he has countless Bahus, which are hands, countless Bahus. Udaraha is bellies. He
Belly.
has countless bellies. And he has Vaktra is face, and Netram. He has countless of these forms. Okay, Pashyami Tvam. What is very important and that I would like to highlight over here is that he says, Pashyami tvam sarvato nantarupam sarvataha. He says, he uses sarvataha especially. So, in fact, which means he sees him everywhere. Everywhere. So, just imagine. So, there are two ways to feel by looking at this particular description. You see that he's everywhere, around you. Like Swami says, around you, in you, above you, below you, everywhere. That is basically the Vishwarupa that he sees. And then there, I mean, by feeling one with him, you can feel secure. Or, looking at him and seeing, oh my God, by getting overwhelmed, you also feel that fear, right? These are the two bhavas which run parallel even in Arjuna's mind when he basically sees this Vishwarupa. Okay, and then Sanjaya's description of this same Vishwarupa is also here. He says, Aneka Nayanam Anekadbhuta Darshanam, Aneka Nayanam Anekadbhuta Darshanam, Aneka Divyabharanam Divyanekodyata Yudham. Divyamalyambaradharam Divyagandhanulepanam Sarvascharya Mayam Devamanantam Vishwatomukham. Divisurya Sahasrasya, same description you see. Divisurya Sahasrasya Bhaved Yugapaduthita Yadibhas Sadrishi Sa Syat Dasastasya Mahatmanaha. So, in fact, he also says that, thousands of sunrises are happening parallelly, it seems, in him. Thousands of suns are rising and setting parallelly. You can also understand that thousands of suns probably are getting born, or thousands of universes are probably born and are also getting layam into him at the same time. So what is the size? So in fact, if you think about astronomy that we know today, we talk about light years or astronomical units in terms of how far a particular object is, right? And then we probably know of a universe which is from one end to other end, it takes about a billion light years or something. That's what we know of today. Okay, for light to go from one end of the universe to the other end of the universe, it takes probably a billion years. That's probably what we know of today, right? And just imagine all of that is a renu, is a dust particle in his hair. So what is hamara astitva? So what is our existence?
Just to add here, in this, he explains sun and moon, and he says,
Hmm.
shines that undivided form which has a sun and moon for its pendant, which
Correct.
pervades its own inside and outside. So he is using sun and moon as pendants we are wearing. It's like one of the ornaments he's wearing. So imagine the glory of Lord, wherein millions
Correct.
of suns and moons are just like ornamentation on him.
Ornamentation. Totally.
And he's saying Deshna is the veins, is one of the veins of the feet.
Right.
Imagine the description. I find the description itself is so poetic that
Totally.
just reading that itself find like who can write such poetry also.
How can
And
imagine the enormity of this Rupam and write poetry?
it's
Rishis,
fantastic, right?
we have to bow down to
Who's
the rishis who have given us this Diksha.
who is there that is competent here to express an opinion as to what my form is like, when in reality it is unseen, though partly seen, unheard of, though partly heard of, and to which Brahma and Kshatriya are food, and death is a mild sauce.
Wow.
Brahma and Kshatriya are the knowledge and power are food,
Right.
and death is a mild sauce. It is like actually in translation it loses, you lose a lot of things in the translation, but
Yes.
look at the grandeur explanation of it.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, let me take you to Bhagwan Baba, and I don't know how many people have heard of that Swami has also given vision of cosmic form to quite a few people. And I was actually trying to get hold of some authentic stories so that it doesn't become part of just a gossip. Uh,
Mm.
to my pleasant surprise, I had heard it long back, but when you in the college days when you hear it, you just hear it and you think that you have understood. But today I was really going back to my professors just to clarify that, and I said I had heard it in my school days. Is that true? And so everybody acknowledged it. So I would take this chance to share it. I would not like to mention the name of the teachers for their respecting them, but it is authentic. And there was a professor with us who was in the Vrindavan times, late 60s, early 70s kind of things. I think 70s. So in that he had one day early morning. It was a kind of a dream come vision in which he thought he has seen it and very clearly that it was a dream-like vision in which he saw. And if people know at that era, even Vrindavan used to have sand. Vrindavan was like Puttaparthi, there was sand in Vrindavan. So he was standing in front of the bungalow gate on the sand when Bhagwan came, and actually the backdrop was that he was a devotee. He is a devotee of Lord Venkateshwara. Okay, so Venkateshwara, I'm sure you must be aware that they have marriage every day of Venkateshwara.
Yeah.
They call it,
Nitya
that's
Kalyanam.
why it's named as Kalyanam, Nitya Kalyanam, right? Am I right?
Yes. Yes, brother.
So
Nitya Kalyanam.
Nitya Kalyanam is his word name given to Venkateshwara because every day it seems in Tirupati they perform his marriage.
Yes.
And it's supposed to be a very beautiful, blessed occasion to observe also. So
Totally.
he was very much fascinated with that form from childhood, and he had pledged not to get married and dedicate his life for Venkateshwara that way. And later on, as divine will would have it, Bhagwan had, drawn him towards him. And that day he saw that Bhagwan was standing in front of him, and he realized that Bhagwan's form was growing, and he grew up to a very big form. And then Bhagwan's form switched to Venkateshwara form. So it was a kind of acknowledgement for him that my Venkateshwara is Bhagwan Baba. But then he saw that majestic form grew up into such a infinite scale that he could not comprehend it for long. And there he saw many things. And he says that form was so big, and he could see on the chest of the Lord many things appear and go, like many of the universes, like as if some planets are going inside and coming out and those kind of things. He had that vision, and it lasted for quite some time, and then he was up. So it was very realistic. And then he goes to Bhagwan for darshan, obviously, and Bhagwan comes to him and acknowledges that by asking him, so what is Virat Swarup now? Since you have seen it, what is it?
Oh.
So that was a very sweet, the conclusion for him. And before he could answer, Bhagwan said, do Narayan Seva. That is Virat Swarup. So, and then later on, the explanation was given that the Virat Swarupa is an experience which you were just mentioning about the Narad Sutra. It
Mm, yes.
resembled, that's why I remember that. And Bhagwan said that Virat Swarupa actually is when you see everything as one and you are one with everything. And in that conscious feeling, you serve everybody not as others, but
Mm.
as you are. So the best way to offer your gratitude for Virat Swarupa of
Ah.
having experienced Virat Swarupa is by treating everybody equal and then serving the humanity. So Narayan's Seva is an aspect of Virat Swarupa. So look at how he clubbed it.
Brother, in fact, I have goosebumps right now. You know why? Because I had a very similar experience, and this is kind of a validation for me. because during the 85th birthday, celebrations, normally the 5 day Annadanam is happens in Parthi. And there was one of this occasion where I got to be a part of, the serving team. I was serving food to the lakhs of devotees who had gathered over there. And I got a very, very similar feeling. And what you're saying exactly falls so much in line. The feeling that I got is that, from the back end where the cooking was happening, we were bringing huge vessels full of food. Probably each vessel would create about 1,000 people or more. And each of such vessels were coming in a queue. And as soon as we bring it there, in 5 minutes it's over. It's over. I got the feeling that we are bringing a huge amount of naivedyam and feeding it to the sahasra sirusha purushaha, and in one jiffy he's just finishing it off. Just imagine the enormity of the Lord, who can finish such huge amounts of food in like a jiffy. That's exactly the feeling that I got when I was doing this serving. And when you say this, it's totally a validation about the feeling that I got at that point in time, and I thank you for that.
No, I was myself when I heard this, and he has written it an article also later on. And then when I was talking, I realized I found that there are other people who had had similar experiences.
Oh,
And
wow.
Bhagavan has given one or two more people, another professor who got this, who became a student and he became a lecturer. And then he also got this similar experience. In the
Oh,
morning, he saw that vision of Swami. But he didn't see the, the thing, but he saw the enormous form of Bhagavan grow. We had also heard about one devotee, not a devotee at that time, who had somehow was destined to come to Puttaparthi, but he was upset with the person who brought him and he wanted
oh,
to run away. So he
okay.
came and he pulled himself to stay for a night. And then something happened and he continued to stay for another day and another day. And then the hope that Baba will talk to him, he stayed for a month.
Oh,
After a month, he got frustrated and he was driving back from Perthi to Bangalore. He said, I'm leaving now. This Sai Baba is not talking to me. And
okay.
as he was driving away, suddenly he heard as if somebody's calling his name. And he looked back from the rear mirror, the window of the car, and he saw a huge form of Swami.
Oh my
The
God.
head itself was covering the whole space, and it
Oh.
was saying, "Come back, go back to Parthi." Indicated. So he had to stop the car and come back. So, and he again stayed for a month, and Bhagwan did not talk to him. And after I think couple of months, then Bhagwan spoke to him, and then it's just history. So I don't know. I think Bhagwan has given such different visions to different people. I have heard
Yes.
about some students getting some other visions also. But
Mhm.
this Virat concept, I love that concept because it is a physical form. It is a Saguna distribution, as you can
Yes.
see, and the infiniteness of the Lord is visible here. That is
Yes.
interesting. The magnanimity is beautiful. And now Bhagwan has brought in another beautiful like flavor of concept here that how when you experience Virat Swarup, what does it mean?
Mm.
Narayan Seva, the serving to the humanity or the creation, is a perfect depiction of Virat Swarup. See, this
Totally.
link, I think the linkage is a very beautiful uniqueness of Bhagwan's flavor. How
Yes.
he links it up that's why he would tell us probably that when you are serving, you're not serving others. How can you even remember yet you have served? It's like you're taking bath and saying thank you to yourself. You know, thank you, I took bath. So it is that way. So you enjoy this whole uh, the whole abstraction is so beautiful here.
No, I think we also have to be very, very, very grateful to Swami to have institutionalized all these seva activities, and to somehow create a path in which common people like me can easily be a part of. I can just go and probably join a samiti and start doing an Narayan seva, which is so easy to do, isn't it? So that way, I think it's Swami's amazing design architecture that he has created. That he also gives this opportunity to us to experience something that is as great as the Virat-Swarupa through these institutions. Yeah.
Let me take you through the answers which Hanuman has given. As I was telling the storyline, that when Hanuman looks at this form in his with his closed eyes, mind you, so it is kind of a vision growing and expanding with Hanuman as he listens to the Virat Swarup. So that is why I think that Ram has made a statement, very beautiful. Sri Ram has made a statement that nobody has seen it completely.
Mm.
Nobody has heard of it, even heard of it completely. And yet they are fearful. So imagine the grandeur, the magnanimity, even
Yes.
four-headed one is scared to see that. So in that way, so when Hanuman is fainted and Lord Ram holds him, and there is a beautiful description that as if a cold breeze has flown of energy has flown into Hanuman, and he stumbles and wakes up after a few minutes or whatever time. And when he wakes up from his trance, he, at the feet of the Lord, he looks up and he falls at his feet
Ah.
and prays for forgiveness. And I find it so beautiful. It is unlike Arjun, unlike any other, the delivery, because here
Yes.
is Hanuman who is acknowledging his limitation while
Yes.
praising the Lord. That Lord, I'm not scared, but I'm sorry that I did some mistakes, and I would like to share what mistakes Hanumanji felt that he committed. So he says, "O chief of Raghus, Raghu Bhushana," he says, "counting upon my excessive former courage and being ignorant of the greatness of this Maya of thine, difficult to overcome, I have committed an error. O teacher, pardon me for this offense." Who can have that humility to acknowledge that, "Oh Lord, I also got carried away by my courage. That's why I told you that I won't be afraid. You show me. Talk to me about Virat Sarupa." And he says, "I also became ignorant about the Maya,
Ah.
that your power is overcoming. It's like not possible for me, but I have pardoned. So pardon me for that offense." Then he says, "Without even catching a glimpse of that universal form, which glimpse is enough to destroy multitudes of strong sins, I thought that I had attained thy nirgun self. Pardon me, O Lord, for this
Oh,
offense also." I find this paragraph is beautiful.
amazing,
Without even
amazing.
catching a glimpse of that universal form, you know, and he thought that he already attained nirgun self. See, like many times we also had this false notion that we got Sai Baba. We have got
Correct.
it. We got him. And I tell you, and I'm just reminded of a very beautiful incident which happened. We were all in the interview room with Bhagwan, few of the students, and this normal habit of the boys was like Swami, 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 Swami. We keep repeating that, and Bhagwan would say, "Hey, Mira, aim kavala. What do you want?" It's like a beautiful question, but in a very nice way. He said, "Aim kavala, ra. What do you want?" So natural answer which comes to the student at that time was, "Swami, you." No, we'll say, "Swami, you."
Okay.
So Bhagwan literally got up from his chair. He stood up from his chair and he said, "Take." He stretched his arm and he said, "Take." And we are like, we got stunned. He said, like, "Now what to do? Should I, should I just lift him and run? Where do I go?" That thought, but that, and Swami said, "Pichi," and he just, slapped on a head and he sat down. But that put me in a thought process that, oh God, we are asking him every time, I want you, but what does I want you mean?
Hmm.
Do we have any idea as to? Who is he and what are we asking for? So that Sagun, we are talking about Nirguna, Saguna, and all that. My goodness, who is Sai Baba? Who is God? And we are saying, we want God, we want you. And he
Mm.
said, take.
Nonchalantly.
Imagine that that was like a wow. Like, what should I do now? And when I read this, I thought that I had attained thy Nirgun self. Just because I am able to connect with the Lord, I thought I have
Mm.
already got. And he says, pardon me for that. So let me read the next one also, and then we can discuss. Because of its association with Maya, I certainly thought that the characteristics of fullness will not apply to Sagun. O Lord, O Supreme Purusha, who art everywhere, inside and outside, pardon me for this offense also.
Oh,
See
Maya
the thought,
Mayatva Purnata, he says, right? Yeah.
I will not apply, he says, fullness will not apply to Sagun. This concept which we thought, that is where I was like, it just gave me goosebumps right there. When he says Sagun, we always have a feeling that the form is somehow not full. Form cannot be full. So we always think that Nirgun is fuller than the form. But the form itself is big, which I agree. But here he is making it very clear. I certainly thought that the fullness will not apply to Sagun, and that was my mistake. Pardon me for that offense. What do you think of these three paragraphs? Before I now I'm this is a fantastic, like only Hanumanji can, you know, be humble enough to acknowledge in this beautiful way.
Totally, totally. Like we said some time back, Vinayam is also one of the prime qualities he keeps showing everywhere. And like Swami has mentioned many times, it is Vidya that Dadati Vinayam. So in fact, he's the Vidyavan Hanuman who is so humble to, first of all, ask about all of this without, without thinking, without having this ego that, I know everything. And at the same time also say that, Swami, please pardon me for these. And what a beautiful shloka. I would like to read this. He says, Maya mayatvat sagunasya purnata naivopapanneti maya hi nishchitam antarbahis purushottama prabho tanchaparadham kripaya kshamasvame. So, he says, uh, I thought that, this form that you have is not the same, or it is much smaller, it's more limited than the Virat Swarupa that you have shown me. But I understand that it is not. So, in fact, the very bhava of Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avasishyate. This is one of the shlokas where the Shruti also says this. And yeah, so
Actually,
in
you just said it. I had actually worked on this, and I realized that this shloka that we are chanting, Purnamadam Purnamidam, I don't know, I would accept that. I was always thinking in terms of the creation, thinking
right.
that this creation is also a full part of the creation, and that is how this interpretation was given always. That the creation is,
Hmm.
complete with the creator and all that. But now when you go back to Ram Katha and Ram Gita and look at Hanuman's description of that, now I'm forced to realize that this shloka of our rishis is when the Aham Tattva got separated from Mahat Tattva. That I-ness, because rest is only mirage.
Hmm. Right.
So we are actually the shadow of shadow. The
Right.
creation is a shadow of shadow. It is not even shadow. We are not even complete
Hmm.
shadow. We are the shadow of shadow kind of scenario. So the Mahat Tattva, the complete consciousness, when it separated itself and took an identity which was Aham Tattva, which actually was the cause of this multitude which we call as creation, is that Purnamada Purnamidam. Purnad Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamava Purnameva Vashishyate.
Avasishyate.
I find this is an amazing, exposition that Hanumanji is acknowledging there, that I thought that Sagun Sarupa is not full.
Mm.
So the I-ness, that Aham Tattva, that Sagun form, is actually as full as the Nirgun form, because
True.
it is nothing but the reflection of each other.
Yes. In fact,
So,
the same. Go ahead, brother. Yes. Please finish
no,
it.
no, yeah, carry on. I just because I was like, I'm overwhelmed with this whole beautiful concept here, and you
No.
just studied the phrase, and I had written it actually.
Oh,
So,
wonderful. So, in fact, the same bhavam is also reflected in multiple places in the Shruti, in the Vedam also. So, one of the suktas that we chant very commonly in Bharti is the Atma Suktam, which says Brahma Atman Vadasrijata Tadakamayata. Okay, and so on. So, in fact, what comes later is basically how the Atma tries to merge back into the Brahman. But the first line, which says Brahma Atman Vadasrijata. Okay, that line is basically very, very important for us to understand, because what it says over there is that Brahma Atmanam. So in fact, Brahma created the Atma as a reflection of himself. Hmm. Brahma Atma Brahma Atman Vad Asrujata Atman Vad Asrujata. Okay, so in fact, Vat is actually, you have to put it with Brahma. So Atmanam Brahmavat Brahma Srujata. Okay, so Brahma created the Atma as a reflection of himself. Okay, and then he says that, I created you, but your duty is basically to merge back in me. So, what is very important to understand over there is that it is the same bhava of the Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. So, in fact, he says Brahma created Atma as himself. So, in fact, now one Brahma became two Brahmas. And if you tap into other Upanishads, it also says that Atma got created from Atma, the other aspects of Tasmad Atmana Akashas Sambhutaha. Akashat Vayuhu Vayoragnihi Agnerapah Adhya Prithvi Prithivya Oshadhayaha Oshadhibhyonnam Annat Purushaha. So, if we relate ourselves as to the Purusha, then we come at the very end of this chain. But if we say we are Atmaswarupas, then we come at the beginning of the chain. Because we say, Atmanaha. So, in fact, Brahma created the Atma. When I say Brahma, it's not the Chaturmukha Brahma I'm referring to, please. Huh? So, in fact, whenever in Vedam, for Paramatma, Vedam uses many kind of shabdas. It uses Brahma, it uses Indra also sometimes. Hmm? And so many other shabdas. I don't want to digress here. So here Brahma is basically the Parabrahma Swarupam, the Paramatma we are talking about.
usually they
And
pronounce it as Brahman, right? Brahman. So you can say that.
Brahman is an English crude
Brahm,
translation.
actually Brahman.
Hmm. Brahma. Brahma is
Brahm,
the Brahma
yeah,
Padartha is basically what they say. In fact,
Brahma.
when and in fact in Sanskrit, if you in certain places, if you see, they will use it in a neuter form. They will use it as an Apunsakalingam. They won't put a he or a she to him.
Yeah, clear on that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is like the pure unsullied Brahma. Okay, from that Brahma the Atma was first created. From the Atma the Akasha Tattva. So in fact, this is the decreasing order of subtlety. When I say subtlety, things that we cannot experience with our senses or our mind. Okay, so Atma comes. After the Atma, the Akasha Tattva comes. The Akasha is basically space. From space, so space again is basically just space. Doesn't mean outer space or inner space. It's just space. If you draw, let's say, an xyz axis in just for us to understand, right? It encompasses everything, right? So that space. Hmm? Akasha, Akashad Vayuhu. So from Akasha came Vayu, air. Air again, not just the air, the atmosphere that we have, all kinds of gases that we have in this universe is air, even the hydrogen that's there on some star, etc., 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 right? Okay. Akashat vayuhu vayor agnihi. From vayu came agni. Okay. Agner apaha. So from agni came the water aspect. Okay. Adhya prithvi. So from that water aspect came the aspect of earth, or the, I mean, here I'm not talking about earth as in the round earth, the planet earth that we live in, but the tattva, the tattva of the planet, right? The planetary tattva of earth that came out of adhya prithvi, prithivya oshadhayaha. From the earth came oshadhayaha, or the plants and so on. That is very easy to understand, you know. From, obviously, from earth come all the plants, right? Adhya prithvi, prithivya oshadhayaha, oshadhibhyonnam. So in fact, he also says one step ahead, that from these oshadhis that God created, the Purusha came. Okay, Annam came, and from Annam, Purusha, or the Jiva, or the, you know, the people who inhabit various lokas came. Okay, so in fact, the Atma Tattva is right at the beginning of this chain of creation. Okay, after which all the elements that we can somehow experience are there. So this also goes to mean that the Atma Tattva, which is almost there at the Paramatma Tattva, is not experienceable with any of the aspects of, you know, the 10 indriyas, or the mind that we have, right? So
Actually,
that
we should, I would like to people to be aware that, as you mentioned, the bhumi or the earth aspect, when we talk about, in many of the scriptural readings, you will find the mention of bhu
mm,
and the earth, and that is not this Mother Earth as we call it. The
correct, not the
element
planet.
of bhu is everywhere. So the creation has the bhu element. Similarly, the creation has the agni element, vayu element, and all that. So when they talk about bhu, it is referred to the whole bhu.
Totally.
So unfortunately, the connotation leads us to believe that the whole creation is happening as if only on this planet Earth.
Yeah, yeah,
So the Earth is also part of that drama, and we are only one part. But the aspect of Bhu is everywhere. So
totally.
that is how the descriptions are. While reading all of this, you realize, Jagdish, that many words they need to be re-looked at. Even if
Totally.
we
Yes.
talk about fear, we talk about love, we talk about oneness. See, the word in Sanskrit have a different connotation altogether. And
Yes.
as we have seen in any language, each word can have a couple of meanings. In
Mm.
Sanskrit, actually, each words have 8 to 9 meanings as I understand.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and each word meaning can have a different connotation depending on the context of the sentence. So, whenever we read a word, we have to look at the word from the context, that
Correct.
how this word has been used in the what context, and that
Yes.
is how the we look at the root word, where is the root word of this thing, and then the environment, the connotation of the environment. Then we
Correct.
combine these two, and then the meaning is, found.
Obviously.
So
Correct.
I can only request people that when you are interpreting or trying to understand, we have to look at the root word of the word, and then look at the situation under which this is being delivered. So then you will get the real meaning of what it is said. So each word, and that too, I would add now, looking at Hanumanji's, it depends also on the people, student. Who
Mm.
are you talking to? Because a word can mean something different to Hanumanji and different to me, because our level is totally different. So when Ram says one word to Hanuman, it has a different experience and a connotation for him, rather than what he tells me. So it is that is why I feel like these, as you are explaining, I love that. uh, this Brahma Sutra, what you just mentioned,
Mm.
it's very important for people to realize where you're coming from, because these sutras can't be just literally taken and
Exactly.
dissected.
Yes. Yes. In fact, very, very important point that you have highlighted here, brother. for multiple reasons, in fact. So the same tattva of atmana akashastambhutaha akashad vayuhu, this line is used by multiple people. If you talk about upasana kanda also, that we saw some time back, the same tattva or the same as flow is also used to draw these yantras, to draw the chakras. Okay, there also, it's beautiful that how the rishis have actually embedded such a beautiful concept which is otherwise incomprehensible into drawings, right? And they say that, this is the tattva which is very subtle, so that's it's represented by a dot. Okay, because the dot is the most subtle aspect of any geometric form that we have, right? So in
Shunyam.
fact,
Shunyam.
yeah, shunya. So, and then, around that comes the whole chakra, be it any chakra. Okay, that is the thought process behind these esoteric representations of any deity. Okay, so
And
yeah.
look at this whole, the beauty of Ramayana is that because of the self, I would say, imposed restrictions by Lord Ram, he maintains his humanness all the time. But now, when we go deeper into the scriptural connotations, we are realizing that we are finding that Ram has, of course, like any other avatar, given glimpses and kind of exposition on his divinity. He has given us that. But overall, as an avataric duty, he has maintained his physicality as a humanness very much.
Yes.
And unless and until we go through these scriptures in that view, we won't be able to understand the divine aspect of Lord Ram, and which is very important, because otherwise it becomes, on one hand we understand it's our history, it's part of our epic Ramayana. I don't want to call it mythology for wrong connotations,
Yeah.
but the beauty of it is that Lord Ram, Sri Ram, was an avatar, and he has, shown his avatarhood in a very beautiful manner, but obviously keeping a beautiful camouflage around him because of his self-imposed restrictions perfectly. And now when you look at Lord Krishna or Bhagwan Baba, they were slightly more open, if I may say that. Even
Yeah.
though they also lived a perfect human life,
Totally.
both of them, but they took much more liberty in sharing their divine aspect.
Yes.
Bhagwan Baba took, I think, more liberty in displaying his divinity than even Lord Krishna. But Lord Krishna also did it. He was not bound by any governance. He only followed the dictum of the age. But
Yes.
Bhagwan Baba, when you look at it, he has shown that in a very casual manner. Like for him, the creation, destruction, fixing, these things were done in a very casual manner. And I'm recalling that, like I think Raju only mentioned this story last time when he said a student was distributing prasadam and he had a desire, and Swami had told him that you think of me every time. And while he was distributing to devotees, his eyes were focused only on the prasadam and the hands which were stretching out for receiving the prasadam. And as he was giving the first, the white shirt hands were coming up. And then slowly the hand changed into orange robe. Each hand which was coming up was orange robed. And he was
Oh,
totally lost with Swami.
wow.
And he literally felt that as if he's giving it to Bhagwan. And he
See,
had that feeling that I'm distributing to Swami. And that is how he kept distributing prasadam in the mandir. And while distributing, he finished. And somebody patted on his back and he turned and there was Bhagwan standing there. And Bhagwan said, now since you have given me, here it is for you, for this
wow.
body. And he took prasadam and gave it to the boy.
Is that not Vishwarupa Sandarshanam? It is.
See, it is no, it is a beautiful Vishnu darshan if you look at it.
Yes.
There was another boy which I think the story was told even in this session only, that I'm just sharing it again for the people who have missed that episode, in which a boy Bhagwan similarly talks to him and he looks around. Swami says, look at this is Vishwarup Darshan. And then he sees that everybody sitting in the hall was Swami.
See?
So literally the whole darshan was Swami. So Swami standing next to him and Swami in the darshan light, sitting on the men's side, ladies' side, everything was Swami.
Wow.
He had that vision. So imagine, so Vishwarup darshan can be done in many ways, I would say.
Totally.
It all depends on to what level and to what we are deserving and how Bhagwan wants to express. So these couple of experiences which Bhagwan has shown, that also gives us a very different perspective of Vishwarupa. And then the final word of Bhagwan, I think it summarizes everything about Vishwarup Darshan. I want to flash it again for the benefit of all. And Bhagwan himself answered, what is Virat Swarup Darshan? And he says, do Narayan Seva, servitude. When you can see all as one, when you experience everyone as yourself, then live in the service of others. So imagine the whole concept of Virat Roop Sarupa. Bhagwan boils it down to Narayan Seva. Now, as we were discussing, that Bhagwan can give you a lesson for a kindergarten and a lesson for PhD scholar. So here is the lesson for kindergartens for like us, like me, I would say. When the Virat Swarupa turns into and feeling and experience when we are ready to serve everybody, when all our actions become service with that firm awareness that everybody is me and I am
Mhm.
everybody. There is
Yes.
oneness. So if we can reach that space in which I am doing things not to anybody else but to myself, there is no difference. That would be the Virat Roop Sarup Darshan. Beautiful.
Yes. In
I
fact,
think
Vedam also mentions here that there is only one way to realize Parabrahma. Okay, when you say we have to realize ourselves, we have to self realization, or any of these things, the Vedam, it says there is only one way. I mean, bhakti, jnana, all these could be margas, okay, the paths that we take, but there is only one way. It says, Vedahametam Purusham Mahantam Adityavarnan Tamasah Parastat. Okay. So, in fact, that Mahan Purushaha, okay, I
translate
have to
it,
be,
please, sir.
okay. Vedaham. So Veda is basically to understand. Aham. Okay, I understood that. Etam Purusham. So this Purusha Mahantam. Okay, he is Aditya Varnam Tamasah Parastat. So in fact, the way that he looks, I mean, if you see him, you can perceive him as an Aditya Varna. So in fact, he's glowing. It seems. Okay, how is he glowing? He is glowing like thousands of suns put together. That also explains the thousands of suns as
Effulgence,
his
his
necklace.
aura.
Yeah, that's his aura. That's his effulgence, right? So, in fact, Aditya Varnam Tamasas Parastat. So, where is it? Where is it? It is Tamasas Parastat. Okay. Um,
Beyond.
yeah, beyond tamasaha. So what is this tamasaha? So tamasaha is basically the tamogunam quality, which signifies many things, which expresses itself in a number of ways in ourselves. We will not go there. Okay. Then it also says nanyah pantha ayanaya vidyate. Okay. And nanyah, so na anyah pantha ayanaya vidyate. So how do you see this Virat Purusha, this Mahan Purusha? It says you have to see him everywhere. Okay, that is the only way. Na anyaha pantha. So pantha is basically path. Okay, ayanaya, to see him. Okay, there is no other way to see him than to see him in everybody. Is what this particular mantra is saying. Okay, so that is basically what has been beautifully expressed in this.
Sahastra Shirishah Purushah Sahasrakshar Sahasrapad. Sabhomin Vishwato Vritta Atyatishtat Dashanguli.
प्रतिष्ठद्दशाङ्गुल.
So I think it is very overwhelming. These concepts are wonderful. Uh, I can only be grateful to Bhagwan for allowing us to even share these thoughts and giving us an opportunity, a platform to, you know, to bring everybody together. And if we can, if anybody gets inspired to read further and explore, we would happy to, hear your views and thoughts. So I welcome all the viewers to please send in your thoughts. And if any experiences of that nature, it'll be
Awesome.
interesting to hear from you. Yes. So I think we'll close for night.
Yeah, only one thing
Yes.
to add here to what you just mentioned, brother. In fact, Swami, we have to be grateful to Swami again, not just for giving us this opportunity and all of this, but also a way in which we can experience this Virat Swarupa, which is the Narayan Seva that we just mentioned, right? So that is also something that Swami has given. Not just he has told us about it, but he has also told us how we should be experiencing this.
How we can experience the Virat Swarup.
Yes.
So, I think very easy format. I think
Yes.
that is also a unique difference of as a typical, if you really look at the conceptual understanding of Sai organization service versus anybody else, is this difference
Yes.
because he sends us to serve not for the service sake, but for self-realization sake.
Exactly. Exactly.
The service is a sadhana for a Sai, a devotee,
Totally.
then
Totally.
an attitude to help others
Mm.
because there is no other in the concept. So
Yes.
that is
Yes.
the basic difference. And if we forget that, then we are reducing this beautiful, instrument of self-realization into a mere act. So the act itself is beneficial, but it is not. It is something like using a Mercedes Benz to carry water, to carry garbage. You need to use it for what it is worth. So, anyways, so I think uh, obviously only Bhagwan can explain and give us such a easy and explanation and path to follow. So, any final words before we close, brother?
Again, the words will be only of gratitude because this has been a amazing session. During even when we were reading this, and also when while exactly presenting this, this is a journey where I have experienced um, goosebumps as a physical expression of what I have been going through, because what I am going through I can't explain really. It has to be explained. So like Swami said, if I explain how sugar tastes, I could probably write 1,000 pages about how sugar tastes, and yet the viewers couldn't understand probably. But the moment they put it in their mouth and they taste it, they get it, right? So this is probably like that. And you know I am quite inspired by reading all of this, and I'll promise to myself and to Swami that I will try to um, practice this a little bit. And with that submission, I would like to
Sure.
end.
Sai Ram, everybody, and thank you very much for watching. And we will post this video also on the channel. If any thoughts, any comments, please feel free to share. Sai Ram.